Hello and welcome to another episode of Starside Chat. I am one of your hosts, Zach Owens, and joining me as always is Aaron Capo.
Hello.
And this week we are going to get into our Silksong discussion part 2, where I believe we'll get into everything up to Act 2 and a little bit into Act 2.
Yes. Very excited to talk about that.
Yeah, very excited to talk about that. But first we got a Nintendo Direct that happened last week that we can talk about, and maybe we even start out with this, but we were talking a little before we started. Mass Effect TV series has potentially revealed characters or possible characters that will be in the show. What did you think of this?
Well, it's interesting. Obviously, Amazon is primed to... I didn't even do that intentionally, but that is a little bit of a pun. They're primed to want to do more video game stuff because obviously the Fallout show was very well received. Season 2 coming soon. And so the Mass Effect show has wound up, and we have these casting calls, and one of them is for a 30 to 39-year-old young Colin Farrell type, which people speculate could be the main character. And additionally, there is a call for a 30 to 49-year-old, a human female providing parallel narrative to Earth. And we were talking about if this is, in fact, if they go the route of this being a Commander Shepard story, if it is the full story of Mass Effect as opposed to being just in the universe, which I'm not sure which one of those I would want more. I almost would want them not to do the Shepard one, but if they did do the Shepard one, this could be a way. I was thinking that possibly there could be a set of twins. So both of them could possibly be Commander Shepard. So there would be the one on Earth who's maybe figuring out some sort of conspiracy with what was the name of the shadow dealer?
The Shadow Broker?
Yeah, the Shadow Broker. Maybe they're figuring Shadow Broker stuff out. And then the one in space who's doing other... We also don't know when this takes place. So, I mean, this could be like first contact with the Turians, or we don't know what's going on. But it's interesting. I'm a little bummed that some of the narrative will be taking place on Earth. I think that's a bad call, and I don't really care about what's going on in Earth in the Mass Effect universe. I would prefer it would be a parallel story happening like on the Citadel. But who knows if we're even going to get to see the Citadel, or if this is like maybe people are discovering the Citadel. There's not a ton of information about this, but I don't know. What have you gleaned from this casting call?
Well, so like we were speculating, I wonder if maybe they do like a dual protagonist type of a thing where maybe there's even like two versions of Shepard, because I guess that technically happens. There's good Shepard and bad Shepard in the Mass Effect 3 Citadel DLC, but I don't think they'll do that. You were speculating maybe it'll be like a twin situation. Yeah. I almost don't think they'll do that either. I a little bit wonder if Mass Effect's one of those things where you can't ultimately just adapt the games because you're going to anger somebody, because what is canon for Mass Effect? There's so many decisions, so many choices that is like so core to each person's playthrough. That to establish a TV show version of canon would be to alienate whoever didn't agree with your choices, I guess. But yeah, the article we have linked in the show notes talks about, potentially they're going to cast somebody in like a Liara Tassoni role, where they're somebody 34 to 39 who's going to play an alien, and I guess that would make sense because you could have her because Asari have such long lifespans. And then there's like potentially a Spectre Saren role with the casting call calling for somebody who needs to be a creature or character actor, or someone like Doug Jones, who is very cool, a very cool person. I had a chance to... Like, he came and spoke to my class when I was taking classes out in LA for when I was in film school. And I could have just listened to him tell stories all day because he's just like a fun person to be around. But and then the last one that this article calls out for the casting call is a wrestler type physicality fighter soldier, somebody who could potentially be, they say like a Garrus Vakarian type, but the description almost makes it more sound like a Krogan character to me. But I guess either would work. But it's hard to speculate as to who these characters are going to be before we know exactly what their plan is. The Fallout show did not adapt any of the games, and it just sort of took place within the universe. And
I think that was the right call. I think that made it a good show.
They played a lot of, fan service to, lots of callbacks to the games. So I suspect it'll be something similar to that, but like, will it be taking place concurrently with like the events of the game, or will it be before or after the war with the Reapers? Like, I don't know.
It's a good question. I really have no idea. My desire is for it to not have anything to do with the Reapers. And maybe that happens down the line if it's successful, but I feel like I want to just live in this world pre there being a universe-ending catastrophe everyone is worried about. Because that was the best part of Mass Effect for me, is not like when there was not like an imminent danger, when you could just like go and explore and cool things were happening and you were sort of learning about maybe there are some things happening in the background that are not cool, but in general nothing's on fire that you have to get back to. And so my hope, I'm fine if the Reapers come eventually, but I would hope at least for the first season we just get to live in the world and learn about the world.
Yeah, and here's another thing to ponder. There is another Mass Effect game in the works. Is this like a coordinated effort with that game in any way, where there's going to be like some crossover there, and which, if there is, that would firmly place this after the events of the Mass Effect trilogy?
I'm going to make a speculation. I'm going to make a proclamation right now.
Okay.
The next Mass Effect game will release on the PS6.
You're probably not wrong.
I can't imagine, because they didn't get great feedback from Dragon Age. And they're just like kind of flailing as a studio. So I don't know, man. I feel like everyone was like, oh, they really got to nail Dragon Age, and they kind of did not. And so now they really got to nail Mass Effect. And so I don't know. I don't know where they're at with that.
There's been a little bit of like potential hope there, because the person who's like directing or working on the next Mass Effect, specifically after Dragon Age Veilguard came out, was like, the art style, everything they did with this game is not the direction we're going with Mass Effect. It was almost like they knew that game was off and people were not going to like it. And he felt the need to like almost immediately after release of that game to like try to reassure fans that like, don't look at Veilguard and think that this is the direction of the next Mass Effect game.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's accurate, and there is hope for the next Mass Effect game. But I think you're right. I would bet that game is years out, not even close to being, released. So it's very possible that they like have some notes to give Amazon and be like, hey, this is the direction we're going. Could you do something in this timeline or this part of the timeline or whatever? And then they're just going to have a game that comes out probably years after this Amazon show goes live. But it's interesting to think about.
It is.
All right. Let's get into the Nintendo Direct. So this happened on the 12th. So that would have been last Friday as we're recording this. What jumped out to you about this Nintendo Direct?
It was a meaty Direct. We've had a couple of Directs in the last couple of months. Throughout the summer, I feel like we had like weeks where there were back-to-back Directs about different things. But all of those were maybe, I believe, under 30 minutes. Quick bites. But this was a full like 60 minutes. And the most interesting thing I took away from this was that Hades 2 is finally going 1.0. And it's launching as a console exclusive on the Switch and Switch 2 on the 25th of September, later this month, which is, I've been waiting to play Hades 2. Much like Hades, I am not going to play it until it comes out to consoles. It's very cool they did the beta thing where it was constantly building and they're adding new features and whatnot, but I sort of just like to play a 1.0 game. And so they had a cool little animatic with a little like kind of introducing the characters, and there was the cool music, and they were like, yeah, September 25th. So I don't know where I'm going to be with Silksong on the 25th, but I loved the first Hades, and I cannot wait to play this one. I think I'm going to equally sink a ton of time into this one, because supposedly it's like way bigger than Hades. And so I can't wait. That was my biggest like, oh my God moment from this direct. What about you?
For me, I think it was seeing that like some sort of crazy looking motorcycle is going to be part of Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still kind of don't know what to expect from that game, or whether it will be like live up to the hype and will be like the big system seller that Nintendo probably needs it to be at this point, given that there's not a lot out for Switch 2 exclusively right now. But it looks cool. I don't know. I'm not like the biggest Metroid guy, though I did like Metroid Dread quite a lot. You and I played but did not finish the remaster of Metroid Prime that came out.
That's what I was going to say. I liked that remaster, but I didn't fully commit to. I mean, I don't know how far I got into it, like what percentage I was done completing it, but I don't know. I liked in Breath of the Wild when that the first or second DLC added a motorcycle. I thought it was cool. I think motorcycles are cool in video games, and I'm into this. I think it's a cool addition. I don't think she's ever had a motorcycle before in a previous game. I don't know the lore, but I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I think you're right that this is a new thing. But it makes me think it's going to be like either open world or like you have very large open zones, and you'll be using that to like travel back and forth between like smaller, more corridor like areas.
That's my guess. I would guess that there's like one big open area, like the desert, possibly more than one. But I would bet you traverse different, like through the desert to. I don't think there's probably a desert temple or whatever. There's probably just like it's like the main area you go through to get to the other zones as you unlock stuff. But I don't know. I mean, who knows? She's never had a motorcycle before.
Now, am I wrong, or is it like the something 40th anniversary maybe of Mario, and that's why correct. They threw a bunch of Mario stuff at this without having like an actual new 3D Mario game to go with it? Because
so they started out with revealing the Super Mario Galaxy movie, and that's what it's called. It will be focusing on Super Mario Galaxy. No new I don't know why they chose to reveal the same cast as the last one. Like when they started doing that, they were like, guess who's returning? Chris Pratt, Anya Taylor-Joy, Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Keegan-Michael Key. And then they stopped, and like we knew they were going to be in this. Like I wanted them to also reveal like, and guess who else is going to be in this as like Rosalina or whatever. But that was not the case. I assume Rosalina's in this because it's Super Mario Galaxy. But
maybe they're keeping that a secret.
It's coming out in April,
some sort.
So I would assume that could be. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. This is something else where I don't super know the lore of Super Mario Galaxy because I only kind of played Super Mario Galaxy 1. However, I can now purchase Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 for the Switch 2 coming up because they're available. They're going to be up-resed versions of those games. So, are you interested in these?
Not really. I mean, I bought the 3D All-Stars thinking, this will be like a cool thing. I'll have, Super Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine and Super Mario Galaxy 1. Oh, why is Galaxy 2 not in this? And then they're like, oh, this is a limited time thing, so you better buy it now because FOMO, and, it's your only chance to play Galaxy 1. And now, like, a few years later, here's Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, but they're up-res for Switch 2.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If you already have Galaxy 1 because of 3D All Stars, you're essentially just buying Galaxy 2 for I don't know how much, but was it like
Probably full price.
Yeah, were they going to like sell them separately, or was this just a 2-pack for however much?
I was going to ask you about this because I thought I remembered seeing at the bottom of the screen, like these games will be you can also buy them separately from the Nintendo eShop, but I don't remember if that was that or if it was the, what are those little plastic?
The amiibo, yeah.
The amiibos. I wanted to say emojis, but I knew that wasn't right.
Well, even those started out at like $15 a pop, and now they're up to like $30-$40 for amiibos. It's just crazy to me, but Nintendo's really hiking their prices. They're kind of going full Apple mode where everything is like super expensive.
They also revealed, so they had a bunch of Mario 40th anniversary stuff. So they did the Mario Galaxy movie. They talked about Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. They're also, like, I guess, sponsoring a marathon in Kyoto. And also, there's going to be DLC for Super Mario Wonder. There's, like, a paid DLC with, like, a new zone with, like, cooperative and competitive levels or mini games, I guess, that you can play with your family.
Yeah.
So
I believe this is, like, an up-res, like, Switch 2 edition of Mario Wonder that's just going to also have more content. I don't know. I assume they do have this, and I just haven't looked into it. But I remember when, past console upgrades, they were like, "Oh, if you already own this game, you can pay like $10 and get like the upgraded version of it." I don't know if that's the case with this, but that would be nice. So they had this, and honestly, this kind of seemed more interesting to me than the Donkey Kong Bonanza DLC.
I have to agree. I don't care at all about the Donkey Kong Bonanza DLC. It seems unfun to me.
Yeah, it does not interest me at all.
It is a roguelike. So you beat the game, you get to go to Donkey Kong's main island or whatever, Kong Island. I don't know what it's called. But and then the main thing about the DLC is there are now emeralds, and you're bashing emeralds you're doing runs. So you do these runs, you're collecting emeralds for Void Kong, and also you're collecting like perks, like fossils and Banandium gems now give you like perks and like stat boosts and whatnot. So they turned it into a roguelike for some reason. And I don't know, it's not super interesting to me, I have to say.
Yeah, it was not interesting to me either. I mean, maybe if I was younger and had more time, I might have been like excited about like going to Kong Island, and supposedly you can you get upgrades as you're going through, and you eventually, as you like play more of it, you get these like statues or something that you can use to decorate your Kong Island. Like, I don't know, it's a whole thing, but it did not seem super interesting to me. And then they showed a new Fire Emblem coming out. I do like Fire Emblem, but maybe when they show more, I'll be like excited about it. But I feel like Fire Emblem does not excite people, so I don't know. I wonder, for this being like maybe the longest direct they've ever done, did it seem light on like actually interesting content?
Yeah, I mean, the Hades 2 thing was a good pop for me, but I don't really care about Super Mario Wonder, so that didn't really click with me for some reason, so that DLC wasn't super interesting to me. The Donkey Kong Bonanza DLC was not super interesting.
It was DLCs and then Mario Tennis and Fire Emblem and a new Yoshi game, but like nothing.
Oh, the new Yoshi game, I forgot about that.
They kind of need they needed a new 3D Mario here to really
I saw somebody posting on Blue Sky. They were like, it's crazy that they announced all these DLCs and none of them are for Super Mario Kart World, which needs DLC.
Yeah, that too. Like, they need to be all in on that game, especially, and you'd think they would be, given that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold like hotcakes from the moment it was released until basically this day. It was selling like crazy, and if they really wanted to capitalize on Mario Kart World, especially with like a new console, like they should like really beef up what's available there. And they have not announced anything post-launch for it.
It's wild. There's got to be something coming. Maybe we'll see something at the Game Awards, but like they have to have DLC for that game. It's crazy they don't yet.
Yeah, it's crazy that they've not like gone all in on like online multiplayer modes and stuff like that. I don't know.
What did you think about the Virtual Boy? That was the other piece of news I was kind of into.
I thought it was interesting just as like a novelty. It is maybe the one like Nintendo Online thing that I did not expect them to do, because like they've got GameCube and Nintendo 64 and NES and Super NES, and they've got like Game Boy Advance stuff on there. But to come out with like an actual Virtual Boy like piece of hardware that you put the Switch into, and supposedly there's also like a cardboard version of it, which like really takes me back to like Google Cardboard back in like, what was that, like 2013 or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
And I guess you're going to be able to play like the old Virtual Boy games on there, which does not seem interesting to me, to be honest. I never played them, but
I have a very fond memory of the mall I used to live next to when I was a child. There was an EB Games, Electronic Boutique, was in a couple of malls back in the day, and they had one. The Virtual Boy, I believe, was only sold for 10 months before being discontinued, and there are only like 14 games for it. But I remember they had a little stool, and I could because they had it on their like glass counter, and I waited in line, and I got up and I put my little face in it, and those games actually are. So, at least some of them, I don't know if all of them have this, but some of the games will make you stop playing after 15 minutes because they knew it was going to give you a headache to play it. So like you'd play it for 15 minutes and then it would be like, time to stop, because they didn't want you to like vomit. But I remember being blown away. I played the tennis game and it was like coming at me. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But we were in my house, we were a Sega family for a long time. So I never got to check it out, because we never really bought Nintendo stuff. But I don't know if I'm going to get this. I love the look of the Virtual Boy, and having that thing, even if I never put my Switch in it, I think would be very cool to have. But I don't know if I'm going to pay $60 for it, which I think is the price of it.
I think it's $100. So you have to be. I think you have to be sub to Nintendo Online. Then I think the plastic one that you can slot the Switch 2 in is like $100, I believe. Wow. And then the cardboard version is like $25.
Interesting.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that's what I saw. And
you're probably right.
Either way, like I think it's cool as like a novelty that like the hardcore collectors, especially people who are like nostalgic for it, will definitely go for. But yeah, like you said, if I got this, it would probably just sit on a shelf somewhere as like a trophy piece and not actually see much, if any, use at all. Yeah. So I don't know that I could justify it, but it's kind of like that little Super Nintendo Mini thing that they released. Oh, yeah. I actually did play that for a while though, so that I guess I can't say that I never used it, but that was mainly just to like sit on a shelf and look cool. So. With that, do we anything else on the Nintendo Direct, or do you want to transition into part 2 of our Silksong discussion?
Let's transition to Silksong. You have made it to Act 2, and I believe I am almost to Act 3.
Oh wow!
How are you liking it?
I'm liking it a lot. So when we last left off, I hadn't found any of the other crests. And I only had one tool, and it was the long pen. And I hadn't unlocked most of the fast travel, like bellway stations, because I didn't have enough bells, or what are they called? Rosaries.
Rosaries. Yeah.
To do that. And now I've unlocked most of those, I think all of them that I've encountered so far anyway. And I've gotten the Wanderer and the Reaper crest, and we were texting about it, and I think initially I was like, I can't adjust to the Reaper crest after using the Wanderer crest for a while because it's so much faster. And there's just like that little hint of like a frame worth of delay when you do your down strike to pogo with the Reaper crest, and for whatever reason that was throwing me off. but I did make the switch to the Reaper Crest. I just like stuck with it and finished the last judge boss fight. And I think you're right that the Reaper Crest probably is like the one to go with, because after you heal, as long as you don't get hit, if you're like landing hits on enemies, you get like little silk, like orbs, that you can pick up, and it replenishes your silk, which allows you to then either get faster healing or more of your special like silk strike abilities. And but yeah, the last judge, surprisingly enough, was not as hard to me as the Widow fight for whatever reason.
Really? I was banging my head against and also the thing about the last judge is the run back for it is initially a little difficult until, I mean, by the time I had beaten it, I had the run back down to like very efficient where I was never getting hit and I was just doing like very cool running jumps to things. But yeah, the Widow didn't take me as long for some reason, but I really struggled with the last judge. And we a little bit talked about this last week, but I didn't fully reveal it. When the last judge dies, spoiler alert, if you have not beaten it yet, you might not want to listen to this. Or maybe you will want to listen to this. When the last judge dies, he explodes. And so I was like super next to him and he exploded and then I revived and had to beat him all over again. And it was very frustrating. But then you get into the Citadel, so there's a good reward for that. Yeah,
well, so I mean, hats off to you for beating him twice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got used to the run back. That it was annoying at first, especially because like you have to go under this thing and there's like a little bug thing that shoots something at you that pops out. And I almost always got hit at least once trying to get past that thing. The rest of the run back's not that bad because you can like you use your wall cling to jump up and avoid the other enemies. So you really only have to deal with that one flying enemy. And once you like figure out how to get past that, it's not so bad. But it is sort of an obnoxious one because you also sort of have to pogo off these like little locks that are hanging. And so it is a little bit tricky. But yeah, I did a little bit spoil myself on like the movements of the last judge. I watched like a quick like somebody beating it just to see like what it did, which is how I knew to avoid being blown up by the thing at the end. But it's like a totally different thing watching somebody else do it and then having to actually be there and do it yourself, because like as soon as I got in there I would die so fast because I would get hit like 2 or 3 times really quickly. I think that's like one of the issues with like difficulty in this game that people are struggling with, is that like in Hollow Knight, the bosses towards the end of the game would like ramp up the difficulty where their hits would deal 2 masks worth of damage, because by then you had like built up your health bar, but also they're like, I don't know, supposed to be bigger, more imposing, more interesting, more significant bad guys, so it almost makes sense for them to do more damage to you.
Sure.
But in Silksong, from the get-go, like they immediately are doing 2 damage every time they hit you.
Yeah.
And even when like you just like you stagger them and you just accidentally get too close to their hitbox and you take damage that way, it's still 2 masks worth of damage, and it's just like, why?
Yeah.
Why is this happening? So it like halves your health bar every time you get into a boss fight, which is kind of annoying. But the last judge I found to be like, once I got into it and tried it a few times, not as bad as the Widow. And I don't know why, because the Widow probably is not as hard. Like I must have played that one for like several hours trying to get through it. Like I had done it enough times to see all of the attacks and to recognize the patterns, and like everything is very well telegraphed, so I knew what was going to happen. But for whatever reason, I just could not seem to get it right, and I would always die.
There's way more going on in the Widow, because she's like throwing bells at you, and there's other stuff going on.
Especially the second phase, where like she's running at you with her claws, but she's also throwing bells at you diagonally, and it's just like...
Now, a thing I really want to talk about is the kidnap sequence, which you said you just got to.
Yeah. So after I beat the last judge and I explored, I think it's the Coral Chambers area. After
Yeah.
after that, when you first start Act Two, I explored there until I eventually found a bench and the fast travel, like the Bellway station. And I was like, okay, well, I have some side quests I want to turn in, and I hadn't done that yet, and I wanted to go find that tool that you were talking about where you throw something and it explodes. And I think there's another crest out there that I could get to as well, or I don't know. There was some other gear I wanted to go grab, and so I was like, I'm just gonna fast travel back and do some of that stuff. And I did. I turned in a couple of side quests, and then when I went to Greymore, somebody came up with like a bird cage thing and trapped me and took me to this place called the Slab. And I broke out of the cage. I did not have my hunter's cloak of the needle, and so I'm just like running around this area naked and talking to this weird other prisoner that's in there and trying to figure out what's going on. But it was a crazy thing that I was not expecting to happen. What about you?
I agree. It was similarly. I think I went back to Bellheart because I wanted to do the side quest for that. I think his name was like Pill or Phil, the courier.
Oh
bug.
yeah, I did that one.
He was like, my brother's missing, and I was like, okay, I'll find your brother. So I started following the trail of the brother, and then all of a sudden I got birdcaged. And I think this is a direct reference to, or at least is inspired by, isn't there an enemy in Elden Ring that does this? Where it captures you, but then all of a sudden you go to that like Volcano Manor place? I was just like, man, this is such a cool, and it ends in a very cool way as well.
I'm still running around.
You're still actively in it.
It was getting late last night, and so I was like, I'll deal with this tomorrow.
That's one of my favorite sequences. Very similar to, I mean, it's different in a lot of ways, but it's kind of similar to in Breath of the Wild when you get to that Evertide Island, and all of a sudden you are like have no tools and no armor, and you sort of just have to like do these things, and then eventually you'll get all your stuff back. You're kind of just like stripped down, and you sort of have to traverse this area, and then there's a very cool ending to that. It's wild to me to think about Hollow Knight now, because it seems like it's a small game compared to Silksong. Like, I keep thinking about how, just to look at the map seems so much bigger. I always felt like I was trying to get to a fast travel in Hollow Knight, but fast travels are like way more prevalent in Silksong in a very nice way that makes it like it's a more efficient way to get around. But even with that, I still feel like Silksong is just like so much bigger. Like, you get to the Citadel, and it's just like so many huge maps you now have access to, and you're only in the second part of the game of 3 parts. I've been loving it, and I also have found a really good rosary farm in the place that you haven't gotten to yet. And so sometimes I'll just like chill and put a podcast on and do this rosary farm for maybe like a half hour, and I'll have like 2,000 rosaries. Which has really helped me to collect a lot of tools and stuff.
That's good to know. Yeah, I did a little bit of that in probably Bone Bottom. I think there's like an area you can go to where there's like a good number of enemies that you can take out fairly quickly and then go back to a bench. And so I did that to like buy out some of the shopkeepers' stock in like the early areas. But and especially since I like had not bought or paid to unlock the Bellway stations in some of the areas, so I had to do that. But yeah, it seems like there's a bunch more shops that you can go to, and there's a lot more gear to get, and like
there's a ton of gear,
and it's more expensive too. So the economy of the game seems like, I don't know, something you're going to have to grind for a little bit.
Yeah.
Which I don't...
That is something they seem to actively be tweaking with each patch, because they did release a second patch, or maybe they just announced they were going to release it. And I think they're tweaking the rosary economy again. I mean, at this point, I'm at the point where rosaries are not a huge issue for me to get. I really just need to go to my secret spot and grind for a little bit, and then I'll have more than enough that I need. But also a thing I've been doing is I'll do that, and then I'll go to one of the shops that can convert rosaries to shard bundles, because I have a new strat for killing bosses that has really been working out for me. Over the past 2 days, I think I've beat 6 bosses, and it's with these 2 tools that I always need to have maxed out. So I'm always popping shard bundles when I'm running back to bosses. But I mean, that's, I think, part of the reason they have balanced it the way they have, where enemies are, or at least bosses do like 2 damage or whatever, because if certain tools, you can just like melt bosses and they get way easier if you have certain combos. And I have found that to be the case, although I am stuck on a boss right now that I think is possibly even harder for me than the last judge. So I don't really know how I'm going to get by it. But that's the great thing about Silksong, is you just play it long enough and eventually you do something you thought was impossible.
Yeah, and I a little bit don't love that the tools are tied to shards, because it does make it so you have to grind. And I don't know that I think that's a fun aspect of the game, especially if you're like dying to a boss a lot of times. And you end up having to, I need to like halt attempts at this boss so I can go grind for shards so that I can use tools during this fight. Otherwise, I'm probably not going to get through it. But I do have all of the like gear slots for the Reaper Crest unlocked. And so you do get like 2 tools, which is going to make me go through shards that much faster. But I have like the long pen, and what is the one that's like you throw out a little spiky trap thing that hovers there?
Oh, yeah. I used that one for a long time as well. That's a nice one.
Yeah, so I have like both of those, and if you really want to amp up the damage of that, you can use the one that makes it so that they're poisonous.
The polyp.
Yeah, so that's nice. What's your build, I guess? Which crest are you running, and what tools are you using?
I have unlocked 2 more crests. I have the Architect and the Witch. Actually, I have every quest except for the Shaman crest. And I don't know how you get that, but I assume it's possibly a Act 3 thing? I don't know. But I run the Reaper mostly, although I have a little bit been going back to the Hunter now that I understand like what the benefit is, because I have like the leveled up Hunter crest or whatever, where you get the like multiplier bonus if you are not hit. I still don't like the pogo for the Hunter, and so I don't use it a ton, but I do use it for my little grinding rosary spot because it does the most DPS. But typically I'm running the Reaper. I am running... Well, I don't know. I mean, do you want me to tell you about... I don't know what tools you have. Do you want me to reveal the tools that I'm using? I typically am using those anklets that make you run super fast. And then I also... My weapon tools are the Cogfly, which is just a little fly that follows you around and can attack things on its own. And then also, I find maybe possibly the best tool is the Tax, which you basically just throw down on the floor, and you can throw like 4 of them down. And especially if you have the poison on them, that like bosses will just walk over them and be getting hit a ton of times and also be being poisoned. And I have found, and also if you pair that with like 4 Cogflies, bosses are just like getting melted if you can get them initially, because the Cogflies and the Tax, if you throw them down before the boss like appears in the arena, they'll attack the boss during the boss's first like shout that it does. And so they're shouting and they're already being damaged a ton.
That's awesome.
Which I find very satisfying. And then I'm also using... if I'm fighting a boss, I usually use those dice that you can get in the Blasted Steps, just because that has saved me a couple of times. And I think there's a bug in the Blasted Steps you can find. And actually, so you find him initially, and he's like, hey, you want to play dice with me? And there's probably a way to win, but I was like, I don't want to deal with this right now. And so I left. And then I remember, like, oh yeah, there was that. I should go check that out again. And he was just dead. And so I was just able to loot his corpse. So if you don't want to deal with him, just like leave and come back, and he'll
I've
be
heard
fully
that this
dead.
is
And you
like
can
a
just have his
theme
item.
in this game where like you'll encounter some NPC and they'll like want to challenge you to something, or you'll have to like pay like super expensive amount of rosaries to buy something. But if you like ignore them initially and you come back to them later, like maybe in a different act, they'll just be dead and you can just pick up the item there. It's super weird.
Yeah. The same thing happened to me with the vendor in the Hunter's March, who's just like deceased, and you can pick up the mask thing. It's been great. There was something else I was going to talk about. What was it?
I have heard, while you're thinking about that, that with the architect crest and the little vial thing that you can get from xylitol, the alchemist guy, that vial tool that you can get makes it so that you can get those blue masks. You like stab yourself a few times and you have extra masks. If you use that with the architect crest, which I believe there's like a tool in there or something about the architect crest that lets you like restock your items while you're out and about, as opposed to having to go sit at a bench, and you just use silk to do it.
Yes, you're no longer dependent on shards.
You stab yourself a bunch of times with that, and you get up to a certain number of masks. You eventually become like, I don't know, over medicated or whatever it is, whatever the saying is, and basically all of your masks turn into blue ones. And then when you take damage and you just sit and let it will restore on its own. So you can't heal yourself the traditional way, but your health regenerates over time. And I think the effect like goes away if you rest at a bench, but like you can basically put yourself in that mode if you're doing any like challenging platforming. So if you like fall and take damage, you can just like stand there and wait for it to regenerate and then try again.
There is some pretty challenging platforming in like the clockwork area that is just like extremely frustrating to me. And so I probably would have benefited from that in that area because I kept dying and then just having to come back. Yeah,
so that's something that I will definitely think about doing once I get later into the game.
What's your do you know your playtime? I had the patch came, so I had to like close out of the game and reopen it, and I got to see like my playtime is on my save file, so I am aware of how long I've been playing. Do you know how long you've been playing?
I have not looked. What's your playtime?
I'm at 49 hours.
Oh wow!
I've really been putting the work in.
Now I have heard that there's like, I don't know if this is like spoiler for Act 3, but I've heard that there's like, you know, those sort of arena battles that you get into where you're not fighting a boss, but you're fighting like waves of enemies that come at you. I've heard that there's one that is like a real pain to get through because you have to get through like 10 waves of enemies. And it's
I maybe know awful. Which one you're talking about. Or at least there's one in Act 2 that I attempted a couple of times, and then it kept happening, and I was like, I can't deal with this. I have to get stronger because it like kept coming. And I have not beaten that yet because I spent a bunch of time fully upgrading my needle.
Oh yeah.
This is something else. This is what I wanted to talk about. I didn't think I would be able to do this. So the first needle upgrade you get is free. The guy in Bellheart is just like, oh, this is a cool needle. I'll upgrade it for you.
Yeah, I've gotten that one.
Then he's like, well, so to upgrade this again, I'm going to need some pale oil, which is kind of a callback to the previous game where you needed pale ore to upgrade your nail. And the first pale oil is somewhat straightforward to get to. You don't really have to, it's basically just you have to get to the end of an area, and then there's kind of a puzzle with like blocks that you move, but pretty easy to get and pretty hard to miss. The second pale oil, though, is a very long quest, which thankfully I had already completed most of. You basically have to collect, I think, 5 items from across the world, and 4 of them are very easy to do, and I already had like 3 of them. I just didn't know I had them already. And And then I got the fourth one, which was a somewhat difficult boss fight, but the fifth one is something I really had to think about, because in the original game in Hollow Knight, there was they didn't have side quests or like things you could pick up, wishes, but there was a thing you could do that was I think it was called like the delicate flower.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Task.
Yeah,
I'd never did that because it was too difficult for me. There's something like that in this, where the last item is basically perishable, and you need to get it to the person who wants all the items within, like, I actually don't know the time frame, because you get it, and then there's kind of a little clock that's counting down. It's not numbers, it's just kind of like bars that are going away in the top left corner, and you just have to haul from Bellheart basically deep into the Citadel. And if you get hit, it doesn't end like the delicate flower, but it does take away a full bar of the progress. So if you get hit like 2 or 3 times, you basically only have like 30 seconds left. And so you really have to strategically plan out your route. And like the anklets that make you run super fast are helpful. The flea juice is also super helpful because that makes you run super fast. But really, it's just like ducking and dodging, not engaging with people, and like making your way to this guy. And it took me, I think actually I only had to do it like 5 times. I ran it once without doing I like mapped out how I was going to do it. And then it seems like part of the Citadel is like designed to mess you up specifically for this task, where if you're going too fast, you just run into like spinning wheels of death. But I did it, and it's very satisfying because now I have a fully upgraded needle, and that has made some boss fights much easier. I don't think you can upgrade it another time. I think I have the max amount, but I guess I'm not sure. But I didn't think I would be able to do that, but I did, and it was very gratifying when I did.
Does that mean you're going to retry the waves of enemies?
I don't know. To complete the game, I'm at a part right now where you have to get 3 pieces of a melody, and I have one of them. And I to get another piece of the melody, I think you have to do those waves. And so I haven't got to the point where I want to do main story stuff again yet. I'm exploring Bile Water right now and not really enjoying it. But I think once I do Bile Water, and then there's this boss in the slab that is very difficult. I don't know if there's a way I can make her easier. But once I do those 2 things, I think I'm ready to... I guess I need to look at a guide to make sure I can fully unlock Act 3, because I think you have to do a bunch of stuff in order for completing the game one time to unlock Act 3. But I'm getting close, I think.
Yeah, the only reason I bring it up is it's one of the things I don't like about this game, because if they had designed like an interesting boss where like their attacks are telegraphed, and like the combat really seems designed around like, you know, precise movements and timing, and like reading a boss's movements, and they telegraph their movements, and then you like sort of learn the patterns and figure out when your opportunities to attack and dodge and when to heal and things like that are. But when they throw those waves of enemies at you, it's just chaos. There's just like 3 or 4 enemies on screen at times, and like you can't track or read an enemy when there's like 4 of them running at you. And at some point there's like no place for you to stand where you're not going to take damage. And it's just like, it just doesn't feel good. So I don't know.
There's a way, I think. So I keep seeing, you know, that bug who's like riding that other bug who helps you fight the Morwing. He keeps popping up in the Citadel, and I keep like helping him complete a small challenge. And he keeps saying like, I'm off to the next one. And I think if you do that enough, he will help you with this main boss fight. I'm not sure, but that's just the speculation that I have. So I've been kind of running around the Citadel trying to find him more and more times, and I haven't been able to find him recently. So I'm wondering if I try to go back and do that, if he'll pop up there, but I'm not sure yet. I've not tried to attempt that again.
Like, I know there was a part in the first like Hollow Knight where I think it was optional though, where it was just like a battle arena thing where you did waves of enemies.
Oh yeah, the Coliseum of Fools.
Yeah, but that was, I don't know, even that didn't seem like 10 waves of whatever to get the good ending or whatever.
I don't remember what you got even for that. I think it was maybe just like a mask piece, or maybe it was something. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either. Either way, I wonder, because I've heard that Act 3 is actually pretty big, and there's like a lot to it.
It's crazy how big this game is.
It is crazy how big it is, but it also makes me wonder, like, how many people are actually going to see the end of this game?
It's a good question.
And not just, like, roll credits on Act 2 and be like, well, I'm done.
Well, and I think about, because I believe that I looked up, when I was playing Hollow Knight, I was like, oh, I know there are multiple endings to this. I have to get the good ending. And so I looked up what to do. But I wonder, I think it would be very easy to miss the good ending in Hollow Knight as well, because there's a whole bunch of stuff where you have to, like, go to the Abyss and get like a void heart and then do that white palace or whatever. And that I think is not necessary at all for just defeating the Hollow Knight and basically replacing him in that ending.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get an ending and credits roll, and it's technically the end of the game, but there's like a lot more other stuff you can do if you want the best ending.
I'm excited to keep going. I have started looking stuff up a little bit. Like I've looked up where to get certain items. I did have to, the Witch Crest I found to be a little bit inscrutable when you initially start it. And I was like, oh, what do I do now? Getting the Witch Crest, there's a part where something happens to you and it can't unhappen to you. And I was like, this is untenable. I can't do this forever. So I did look that up, but I haven't looked up any story stuff. And I don't know how close I am after getting the melodies I am to the final boss, or at all what's going on in Act 3. So I'm very excited to get to that for like lore reasons.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to keep going with it because I'm enjoying it quite a bit so far. And I've been having fun, getting the different crests and the different tools and just like been trying to knock out side quests, even though I think a lot of the side quests are more or less fetch quests. But I've been having fun checking a lot of the boxes on that and just like exploring the different areas and like finding breakable walls to get into secret areas and like just figuring out how to progress through the game. So it's been fun. I've been enjoying it a lot. But I do a little bit fear later on in the game where if I like hit a point where I'm just like too frustrated to keep going. Although I did complete the Path of Pain in Hollow Knight. So
I didn't even do that.
You didn't do Path of Pain?
I don't think so.
I think you did.
Maybe I did.
Don't you have to?
For the maybe you do. Maybe I did. I thought I did not, but maybe I did.
Well, either way, I completed it, and I was not having fun doing it, but I did eventually get through it. And I keep like waiting, like what's the Path of Pain going to be in Silksong? Is it going to be platforming? Is it going to be just like a gauntlet of like enemies that is a pain? And it's a little bit like, so what was that DLC that was like super difficult where it was like a boss rush mode almost?
The Grim Troop or whatever. Oh no, you're talking about the God Halls or whatever.
Yeah, the like super hard one that like I don't know 5% of players ever completed.
The Pantheons.
Whatever. Yeah, something like that. But I just am like, I don't want that to be like the main game. You know what I mean? I want that to be like, oh, the masochists who are like crazy and will play this game for 1,000 hours and want that sort of thing. This is for you guys, but I don't want it to be like you must do this to complete the main game and in the proper way so you get a good ending or whatever. But yeah, that made me wonder like when does it become too difficult? Because I think about this, it makes me think of Destiny, where a lot of that game is like for the streamers, where it's like, we've designed this to be so inscrutable and we've designed this to be so difficult and dependent upon like a group of 6 extremely dedicated people to be able to get through this content, that like we know that the normal player is not going to complete this. And I like don't want Hollow Knight to turn into that sort of a thing.
I agree, yeah.
But anyway, I am really enjoying it so far. I need to get through the slab, and then I a little bit still want to get back to like going back through previous places because I haven't really done Hunter's March yet.
Yeah.
I've kind of avoided that area, but I know there's some like cool stuff to get there.
There is some cool stuff for sure. I would recommend mainlining until you get the claw line, which is the thing where you can throw the needle, because that unlocks a lot of stuff, and it also unlocks the ability to get the double jump. And once you have the claw line and the double jump, you can go anywhere basically. Like you can just like fully explore every zone, which is very satisfying to do. I loved to go back to Bone Bottom and like the Marrow and Deep Docks and just like go back and see what I missed.
Oh, that's true. There is like a locked door in the Deep Docks that I can't get in yet because I don't have a key. But I know there's like some stuff down there to do as well. So that's probably good advice.
I completed that tonight, actually.
Oh, yeah? That's cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I need to get a key for that. And then so you're recommending those 2 upgrades, and then you can go explore anywhere.
That's what I think. I would say keep doing the Citadel until you get the claw line. And then make your way to the left side of the map to get the double jump. And once you get those 2 things, it's fully time to not do any main story stuff and just start exploring.
Okay. I was going to say, after you get double jump, is that basically like, okay, you're ready for final boss and credits?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say if there's more things to unlock. I've been trying to not look up extra abilities. I really only have been looking up like tool locations. So I'm not sure if there is like another secret movement ability. I can't imagine there would be. Although like the knight in the first one had that crystal dash, which made you go like horizontal super far. Mm-hmm. And there is a spot, I think, where I can't get far enough, even if I claw line and double jump. So I'm wondering if you get a similar crystal dash thing, but I don't know.
I've sort of been looking at an interactive map as I've been going through, just so I like have an idea of like where bellway stations and benches are mainly. But also to like you said, find some tools and stuff like that as I go. And I can tell just from looking at that map that like there's a lot of area to this map and there's so much that I have not even set foot in just yet. So I've got a lot of exploring to do for sure. But yeah, I look forward to doing that. And as we continue to play, we'll talk through more of it. But yeah, unless you've got anything else you want to mention.
I don't think so. I'm going to continue to play it. I'll have an update next week. Maybe I'll be in Act 3 by next week. Who knows?
It's true. You're definitely going to get there before I will, for sure. But I'm having a lot of fun playing it. So I guess that'll wrap up Silksong Part 2. And we'll be back with more of this probably next time we record, I'm sure. But in the meantime, do you have any parting wisdom?
You know, this is probably something you're already aware of, but there's a new season of Taskmaster out. They've started airing season 20 now.
I was going to bring that up with you, actually. I realized that there was a new episode out, and I was like, ooh, I should tell Capo that they've got a new season going.
It's great. And also, speaking of British TV, this coming week, I think, or no, maybe on the 24th, the new season of Slow Horses comes out, which is also another really good British TV show. And everyone says this season is great. So 2 British things. Check them out.
And on that note, go ahead and follow this podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and Audible. We'll catch you on the next one.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.